All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Monday. I almost said Sunday. Monday morning, about 10 a.m. The wife and kid are out doing some grocery shopping and all that fun stuff. So I've got a moment to create a video for you guys. So most of my reviews are pretty positive, and there's a lot of excitement on chosen X game, whatever it may be. This one's going to be a little different. While there's still excitement and I'm still overall happy with my purchase, the execution failed to meet the expectation. And I want to give a big shout out to Brian and Cosmic Flux on the Discord for helping me kick the tires on Dreams and Machines. I've got Heroes and Hardships up there just because, well, I like showing off the book. I think it's really cool. And that's our next game we're going to play, and I want to do a deeper dive on Heroes and Hardships because I think it really deserves it. But for today's video du jour, we're talking about Dreams and Machines. The concept, it's far in the future. Mankind has devastated the planet with, I believe, EMP bombs to destroy the AIs that were murdering humans. They were destroying humans left and right. The machines went crazy, and every type of machine that had an AI in it was just started a murder spree. And there was a long, drawn out war. Humanity was almost extinct. And last ditch effort, they nuked the planet with EMPs and/or nukes. I'm not quite too clear on it. And I know it was EMPs for sure, and it shut down all the machines, or is what they call the makers. And now it's couple hundred years in the future, and most people have forgotten what created. They know mankind created the machines, or the makers, as they're called. But what they do, how they do it, and all that stuff has kind of been forgotten. Technology has gone almost back to this century, 21st century. There are people that do understand bits and pieces of the technology, and they go out and they gather tech and they try to use it to benefit mankind. The problem is they've set up like farming steads. We've regressed back to basically a hunter-gatherer stage. And of course, whenever you have people, you have people that prey on people, and so there's bad guys. The game does a good job of kind of giving you the base setting information. I wish it would have went a little more in detail. Um, so basically, what we did is we kicked the tires. We played the intro scenario. We got about three-quarters of the way through it, and we just stopped because there was a frustration level. And I don't want to say it's necessarily the game's fault, but unfortunately, it is the game's fault. In this day and age, a lot of us, with the age of technology comes the age of being remote. And I live in Duluth, Minnesota. There's not a lot of gamers here, nor with those gamers is there the want or desire to play non D&D type games. You can find a couple Pathfinder games here and there, but for the most part, it's D&D or it's nothing, or it's Warhammer 40K or Age of Sigmar. There's no, and Magic, of course. Magic is very strong just about everywhere for whatever reason. But that being said, if I want to play a different game, such as Dreams and Machines, I have to go online. That's my only option. My local players don't want to play. I can't even get my local players together right now. Our group is disbanded because of schedules and everything. So with that being said, the problem lies that you have to look online. So Modiphius, and first I want to say I'm a huge fan of just about all of Modiphius's games. I don't particularly care for Dune. I'm not into political intrigue, so that game does not interest me at all. And I did the play test for it, and I think it's a phenomenal game. It's just not my cup of tea. But I will say that 99% of Modiphius's games I thoroughly enjoy. Mutant Chronicles, Infinity, Conan, Star Trek Adventures. I just picked up, because it was on sale at Miniature Market, the Klingon Leather Edition, which is amazing. It was on sale at Miniature Market for like $30, $35, I think. So definitely worth it for me to add it to my collection. And I have quite the collection. But anyway, point being, Dreams and Machines came out. They announced it. I pre-ordered it. I mean, the day they announced it, I thought I love the concept. I played Horizon Zero Dawn, I think it is by Sega or Sony, which this game is heavily influenced by, and I don't care what they say. Even the cover art, I mean, I mean, that is almost a one for one representation of the young lady from Horizon Zero Dawn. Uh, but and that's not a bad thing. That's not a slight on the game. I think it's a great concept, and to see it in a role playing game is phenomenal. But so the problem is this game does not translate well to virtual tabletop. We tried to play on Discord and Theater of the Mind, and it didn't work. Now I've run Star Trek, Mutant Chronicles, Theater of the Mind, and had no problems. The problem with this game is you get so many fiddly bits, and I'm hoping that the people at Modiphius take this into account when they release the physical books. And my understanding is there's going to be a player's handbook and a GM's guide or a storyteller's guide, whatever they're called, chronicler, whatever. There's going to be two rule books. There's going to be a GM book and a player book, and that's great. I have no problem with that. I prefer it all in one, but I get it. You know, I don't, as typically as the Forever GM, I don't have to buy the player's book, but I like to because I'm a completionist. So, am I dissatisfied with my purchase of Dreams of Machine starter box? RPG starter set. No, I'm not. I love it. I love all the widgets. I think they're cool. You get, you get tons of cards. I'm trying to pull out a card here. Let me just pull it. You get cool cards I put them in sleeves, and there's information on the cards. They're well done. The art is evocative, and that's what it's supposed to do. And, you play this like the farmstead card out there, and it shows a farm with people working, and it's supposed to, set you in that mindset, which it does a great job. Really hard to do when you're playing over Discord. Really hard to create characters when your character creation process is card driven. You choose an archetype, you choose equipment, you choose your origin, you choose temperament, all these things there, and there's all these different cards without everybody having a set of the digital assets, which, in all fairness, one of the things I love about Modiphius is they give you the digital cards when you get the PDF product when you buy the physical product, which is really great. Paizo does the same thing, so kudos to them for that. Um, the physical product that comes in the box, you get five neon pink, reddish pink D20s. They're very nice. They're a decent size. They feel good in the hand. They roll nice. I was very enamored with them. I like bright colors. My eyesight is pretty bad, so being able to see these dice easily and correctly is very nice. Granted, Chris Birch and all those guys are all around my age, so go figure. Um, the other thing that kind of, when I first opened the box, I was super excited about, but putting it into practical use yesterday just didn't work. It was, and Mark or Cosmic Flux said it best. He's not a big fan of games with a bunch of fiddly bits. And at first I was like, well, personal preference. I like the fiddly bits until I tried to run it, and having players keep track of, or oops, having to keep track of one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and I'll count these as one. So having to keep track of six different sets of tokens while you're running Theater of the Mind over a camera is just suicide. It was painful to say the least. Was not happy with that. And then the players are like, "Well, how many spirit do I have?" "Well, it's on your character sheet." "Well, I don't have a character sheet." "Oh, it's on your archetype card or your origin card." It was just convoluted at best and very clunky. Could I have been better prepared and made copies? Yes, but then I'm kind of violating the copyright protection, laws. And being a YouTuber and a content creator, I want to support those laws. I want people to buy the game, but you can't force people to go out and buy a game. And the whole reason we did the demo was to see if Brian and Cosmic were going to be interested in it, because they were slightly interested in it. Cosmic's a big fan of a lot of the 2D20 games, and Brian's a collector of RPGs just like I am. So they wanted to know, is this worth my hobby dollar? And at this point, I have to say, me included, no. This is not a good product for adults who game virtually. Until they come out with a VTT solution, this is going to be hard pressed to you're going to be hard pressed to play this online. The other thing I think Mark touched on it as well, and I did not like it at all, was in a lot of the Modiphius games, you add your attribute and your skill, you get a total, and then you have and I can't think of the name now. You're specialized. I can't think of the word. Um, it's escaping me, and we had the same situation yesterday. But you have in the Modiphius system, if you roll like a one, two, three, or four, some games it's three, some games it's four, or lower on a D20, that counts as two successes. In this version, in Dreams of Machines, you're rolling under your attribute, whatever it may be, and your attributes will range on average from 8 up to 16 is the max. So you can never be perfect in anything that you're trying to do. But it seemed like the average stat for the players was 12 for whatever they were good at was a 12, and then things they were not so good at was like an 8 or a 9. So but the max you can level it up to is 16. So your attribute is going to determine what you need to roll on a d20. Your skill dictates what you crit at. So if you have a skill of 4 or 5, which seemed to be about the average, I think one person would, I think one of them had a 6 in one of their skills. Then that is what causes two successes. And it's fine if this is your first 2D20 game or you're adaptable. My problem is I have 100 different games running in my dome at any time because I run a lot of different games and I own a lot of different games and I read a lot of different games. Now, that's a totally a me problem. That's not a deficit of the game, but someone coming from owning, I think I own, except for Dune, I own every Modiphius game that's made. Um, and coming from that background and now having to remember that, oh, my skill is not my doesn't get added to my attribute to give me a total that I need to roll equal to or less than. I have to separate my attribute. And in all fairness to the game, they do separate them. Your attributes are on your archetype card, your skills are on your career card or whatever it's called. I can't remember the term right. But yeah, you get those. Yeah, your archetype would give you your skills. I'm looking at the grabber. So a grabber has like fight 2, move 2, operate 3, survive 1, study 1, sneak 4, talk 2. Um, so yeah, if you roll equal to your skill or less on a d20, it counts as two successes or a critical, which is fine. But it it it's just confusing, and I was not a fan of it. I much would have rather they kept it like Conan or Mutant Chronicles or even Infinity. Then the other problem was, and not a problem, but the other issue was 3 books. Excuse me, I hit this keyboard there and it launched something. You get 3 books. So you get the tutorial booklet, which has the tutorial adventure, which teaches you the rules. Very poorly done. It was kind of all over the place. I see where they were trying to go with it. I think they needed to play test it a little more. As you can see, I put tabs. And for the most part, it did kind of go from A to B, B to C, so on and so forth. But it wasn't. I'm playing music in the background, and it's quite annoying, and I don't know how to stop it. Oh, there we go. There we go. I don't want to get a copyright strike. Um, then you have the rules reference, which is a very thin pamphlet, and then you have the adventure book, which is there's a series of adventures in here that will let you level up your character and stuff. Which I didn't really look at this too much. I'm hoping that they explain a little bit more of it, but it just failed in execution. Part of that is we tried to run it online. I think if we would have been sitting around the table, and I do believe the other two players did agree, it would have been much better sitting around the table where you could have the tactile experience of touching these tokens, interacting with them, adding and removing, tokens as need be. Uh, but playing it virtual was not the way it was to go. And that's a shame. I'm not displeased that I bought the box set, but I'm not pleased either. It's kind of meh. I will probably never open this again. I will steal the dice from it because I do like the dice, but all the tokens and the cards, I spent money to put these in sleeves. And that's my fault. I was overexcited. I had a bunch of sleeves already sitting there, but I just happened to be down in the cities and I knew I was going to need sleeves. So I bought a big pack of sleeves. I can unsleeve these and save those sleeves and use them for something else. So not neither here nor there, I guess, in the big run of things. But what I will say is, for your hobby dollar, either be extremely organized, willing to make copies if you're going to play this virtually, and give everybody a copy of everything so that they can make characters. The other discrepancy is the quick start download that's on drive through and their website doesn't necessarily match the starter set. The characters that were in there were already equipped. So Brian and Cosmic both chose characters from the quick start because we wanted to jump right in. We didn't want to waste time making characters. Although I will say I did make a character. It takes less than 5 minutes. You just choose some cards, boom, you're good to go. You lay the cards out in front of you. They give you some handy envelopes in the game. You write your name, and when you use those and you play with a different group, you just get regular envelopes, put all the cards and tokens in there, and you're good to go. You keep it in the box, you're ready to play. So kudos for the design and the layout, but I don't think they thought about the implementation. A lot of people play virtually now. And until this gets a VTT asset pack, it's kind of unplayable. It really was. I was so frustrated, and I know that frustration showed through. Mark was frustrated. I think Brian was a little frustrated. And I apologize for. I feel like I wasted their time, and but I hope that we all walked away going, I wouldn't buy this. Not now. Maybe when the physical books come out, it would be worth it, and maybe they'll implement it with a true character sheet and a character creation process that's not picking a bunch of cards. Mark said it best. He's not a fan of gimmicky games. And right now, this has got gimmicky written all over it, for me anyway. And I think for Mark and maybe even Brian a little bit. Um, and I know Brian plays 100% virtual. Brian doesn't go to game stores and play games or run games anymore for the most part. I think he's completely virtual. And I can't say as I blame him. So a little disappointed. I hope I didn't waste their time. I hope they got something from it and enjoyed the time. At least it was good to hang out with both of them and try something different. I do love the concept. I love the presentation. I'm not a big fan of the cards. And like I said, I was at first when I opened the box, I thought, wow, I got a lot of bang for my buck for my $40. I think this was $39.99 when I purchased it. I don't remember the retail, and it doesn't say it on here, but I think it was $39.99. It doesn't say, unfortunately. It's a beautiful box. It's kind of a waxy feel, It's going to hold up for a long time. It's very thick cardboard. The components are pretty thick. So if you have an established group that you physically sit around the table and can play with, I would say give this a try. If you're not into the gimmicky cards and the tokens and everything, then wait for the physical books and see what happens. Modiphius is known for its tokens. All of its games use momentum or threat or whatever you want to call it in every game. Dark symmetry, whatever. And a lot of them use funky dice, which you can use regular D6. You don't have to buy their specific dice. And they use regular D20s. They do make D20s specific to all their games. So it's your level of how deep you want to go down the rabbit's hole. If you want to buy those products, you can. You don't have to. You can use regular D6s and regular 20s and run the game just fine. You will need some tokens for threat and momentum. Just about all of their games use a version of the threat momentum motif. So you're gonna need tokens of some kind, whether it be dice or glass beads or poker chips, whatever. You'll need something. So again, I don't want it to come around and say that I hate the game. I'm just not a fan of this iteration. For playing virtually, I don't think it worked. My understanding is they are coming out with a VTT asset, but I think they should have launched it when they launched this. I think in this day and age, games are being played more and more around the virtual table than they are in person. especially with some areas of the country and the US are still being hit by COVID really bad. Some places are starting to shut down again. So I think it's important that if you're going to release a product that you want people to pay, and pay good money for, you need to release a VTT asset for it and make it readily usable for everybody, not just those people that have a dedicated group. And there are a lot of people that have a dedicated group. But for me, it's going to make me think twice about buying another Modiphius box set, because if this is what their format's going to be, this is unusable to me as a virtual GM who doesn't have a physical table where I can sit around and play with my friends. So I hope that's informative. I hope you guys got something out of it. I do think it's a neat game. It's going to take me a while to wrap my head around the mechanics. Oh, there is one other thing I wanted to point out that I am not a fan of. There's no hit points in this game. Your spirit is one of your core attributes. Your spirit is your health. And you use spirit to get more dice in combat or in situation skill tests. You can spend spirit to get extra d20s. It's a standard Modiphius game. You can never roll more than 5 d20s for a task resolution, be it combat or skills. Um, and that spirit doesn't recover until you take a breath, a break, a breather, as they call it, or a rest, or you go to bed. They call it bed. Um, so, and it's pretty easy to do those things, and the rules make it pretty clear. Although we had to search for it at first because Mark was asking, he had spent spirit to do something, and his first natural question was, "How do I get spirit back?" And we had to kind of flip through the back of the book to get to that section, and it wasn't readily made apparent, in which I thought it should have been described in the attribute section since it is a key component to the game. You also spend spirit to avoid damage. Damage in this game is pretty lethal. Armor is ablative. So it's got that Monty Hall feel as a GM. You're giving out equipment left and right. You get tokens for scavenging, and you can use those tokens to turn in to give you the effects of a piece of equipment, which is kind of cool in a way, but I think it would also slow the game down. You're in the middle of the game, you're in the middle of a tense combat, and one of the players says, "Oh, I'm going to spend some salvage to give me the benefits of this piece of armor." And now he's got to go dig for that card if he doesn't have it readily available, and then quantify the effects of it. And I just think it would slow the game down a little bit. Once you get to know the game and you get to know the abilities, there's not that much equipment. There's several cards of each piece of equipment, so that it assumes a standard 4-player group and 1 GM. So all the bad guys are on cards. There's no actual monster index. It's all cards, and all their information is very clear on there. They do make it very clear on how to roll for the monsters and their stat and all that. So that stuff was fine. I just was not a fan of no wounds or no, like, spirit is your end all be all of getting out of danger. You can spend spirit to avoid damage. The problem is it becomes a war of attrition. If I score a bunch of successes to hit you, I only need, let's just say it's ranged combat. There's nothing involved. I only need 2 successes. I roll 5 dice and I get 7 successes. Now I have 5. I can boost the damage by 5. Let's say the weapon does 3 damage and I'm adding 5. Now it's 8. If you've got no armor and you've only got 4 spirit, you're dead. You're unconscious in the game. And the game is pretty good about bringing you back and health packs and everything, but you're going down and you're out of the fight. That's it. So not a big fan of that. I hope in when the core book releases that they address that and maybe change it a little bit or make armor a little tougher. It seemed like all the armor only did 2 or 3 points of protection to you. And then there's weapons have abilities like shock or poison, and so those can affect you, of course, negatively. And so, yeah, again, don't want to make it sound like I'm bashing on the game. I don't think it's a terribly bad game. I just think the presentation of the rules is lacking and needed to be tightened up a little bit. And so let's see what they do when they release the books. I'll probably get the core books because, like I said, I'm a Modiphius fan and I want to support them. I think they do make great products. And so I'm willing to give it a second shot. But as it stands, this is going to go back in the box except for the dice, and I'll probably never run it again until they come out with VTT asset pack, or I get the physical books and I have more of a defined character sheet, and I don't need 8 billion tokens to run the game or 300 cards to make the game work. So hopefully that gives you some insight, makes you helps you spend your hobby dollar wisely. As always, like and subscribe, support the channel. I have a Patreon, $5 a month, get you access to the Discord. We have a thriving Discord community. We're doing a bunch of stuff on Discord all the time. We've got games going on almost every night of the week. Somebody's running something. We have a plethora of GMs, really good GMs. Brian is a phenomenal GM. Windmark is an awesome GM. So we have, I'm not too shabby myself, if I do say so. But I'm in this mode right now where I'd rather play more than GM, just because I'm going through so much stuff. But buying a house, kids starting school, special ed, and all that fun stuff, and that's chaos right there, buddy. Um, we have a drive-through RPG affiliate link. Doesn't cost you anything, helps support the channel. So if you're going to buy something off a drive-through like Dreams and Machines, you can use my affiliate link. It's down in the doobly-doo, and it does help the channel out quite a bit. So thank you so much if you use that. As always, peace and hair grease. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Let's grow the mini horde, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot, and as always, be good.